So I saw that movie In About Nature in the theaters with my friend Justin. I was not a fan of this movie. I can see why it has a divisive response to this movie because it's one of those experimental horror films, and I'm gonna be honest, it reminded me a little bit of Skinnamark, another experimental horror movie that I saw in theaters. And let me start with the positives with this movie. There's one kill in this movie, and there's some good kills in this movie, but there's one kill in this movie that stands out. I do have one little nitpick about the kill. I'm gonna say there's a yoga scene. It's a great kill, but the one little nitpick I had about that kill was that the character just kind of stands there and lets the serial killer do this to her, kill her. At like it's just a little nitpick that I noticed when I thought more about it. I was like, the kill didn't even try to run away. Great kill. It's definitely one of the standout kills of the year, in my opinion. And I think the idea of following the killer's perspective when it comes to following, you're seeing a viewpoint from behind the killer, could be interesting for a short movie. But even though this movie's only, I think, an hour and 30 something minutes, it just, I feel like this is an idea that would work as a short film and it's an interesting concept. But to actually do it as a full length feature, it just, we'll get into the negatives there. So but that was another positive, is that I think the concept could have been interesting. And like I said, it could have made for a cool short film. And when it comes to the serial killer, I believe the name of the serial killer is Johnny, I think, in the movie. I think overall, the look of the killer, I like. Like, when it comes to the fireman mask, I think that look good. Like, it's not one of those looks for a killer I was like, oh, that's iconic, and that I'm gonna, like, remember that. And I'll say this is kind of a missed aspect, which I can see working for some people and might not work for other people, is that the killer basically feels like Jason. Even his backstory feels a little similar to Jason. Not the exact same backstory, but it did feel a little similar. And for me personally, I'm not really a big Friday the 13th fan, so I can see that being a positive if you're a hardcore Friday the 13th fan, and I could also see that being something where like me, where I was just like, it that was a negative to me, where it felt like it reminded me. There's too many things that remind me of like Friday the 13th with the character in this movie. So it's just the serial killer character didn't really like the backstory didn't really stand out to me, or the look of the character. The actor who does a serial killer doesn't really talking to me. Does a good job. Like I said, there's some good kills with the. I'm gonna say is the yoga scene being a standout kill. Like I said, the negatives with this movie is mind numbingly boring. And this is what I mean when it reminds me of Skinnamark. 70 to 90% in the movie is just scenes of the killer slowly walking around. And I feel like some of those walking scenes you could have cut down. This movie did not need to be in like this movie's only an hour and 30 something minutes. I can't remember the exact running time. It's not even a long movie, and this movie felt too long. Like there's tons of walking scenes in this movie where I feel like you could have trimmed those walking scenes down. It just for me personally, it was just mind-numbingly boring. Like it was a struggle to get through this movie for me. The characters are just quins. The bad acting, the dialogue is terrible. They don't come. The dialogue doesn't even sound like this is how people would talk. Like the scenes where you see the killer here and talk off in the distance of these characters, I'm just like, it doesn't sound real. It sounds all fake, like somebody's reading from a script. Like the dialogue is just so bad and cringe. Doesn't sound like realistic. Like this is how people would talk. I know some people would say it's a slasher movie. Yeah, I get that somewhat. But I think at a point now, we've had plenty of horror movies that have way better dialogue and more interesting characters. And I'm not saying characters need to be the deepest in the world, but the acting is just so bad in this movie. The dialogue is so bad that I didn't care about any of the characters, and I just didn't think the actors were very good in this movie. And like I said, it's just a lot of stuff you could have trimmed down when it comes to the constant walking scenes, because it's like I said, this movie is just very boring to me. It just felt like it was a slug to get through, and this is what I mean by why I felt like this could have been a quality for a short film, but for a full length feature, it just to me, there's just so many scenes, like I said, you could have trimmed down. And also, this movie doesn't really do anything new in this slasher genre, in my opinion. Outside of seeing from the killer's perspective, which is 70 to 90% of the movie, it doesn't really do much. Doesn't really do anything new that I haven't seen before. Like I said, the killer's backstory pretty much feels similar to Jason's backstory from Friday the 13th. Like, there's nothing in this movie that stands out outside of the yoga kill. Like I said, like there's one great kill in the movie, and that's the one thing that stands out in this movie, in my opinion. And they don't even commit to the whole following the killer's perspective through the entire movie. There's times where they break that idea. Like there's a scene somewhere in the beginning when you meet the characters, they're doing a fire camp, and they like you don't follow the killer's perspective in that scene, and the camera's moving around all the characters. I wasn't really a fan of that either. I was like, this is getting a little like it just felt like to me the director in that scene when you see the fire camp scene, the camera's moving all around the characters. I was like, it just felt like it gone on forever. I was like, okay, you can stop doing this trick. Like it's cool at first, but it just feels like it keeps going on and on. And that's how I feel about these walking scenes. They go on and on. And the ending, I was not a fan of the ending. The ending I thought was terrible. Like the main character who makes it out, who meets up with this other character who picks her up, this older lady. She does this whole exposition dump that lasts like 10 to 15 minutes. I'm just like, that scene drags on, and it just felt unnecessary. I was like, what is the point of this scene? She's like telling the story. I'm just like, it goes on and on forever. And it ends just in a way where I'm just like, really? That's it? And for me personally, there's no tension in this movie. And like to me, the whole thing I love about like when you go back to watch the original Halloween, one of my favorite horror movies, there's times when you see from Michael Myers' point of view, like once in a while in that movie, it doesn't like when you see him like behind a bush or something. But the whole point of the idea of a killer is that you don't know when they're coming. And in this movie, I'm just like, you see him walking towards the people he's gonna kill, and it just to me there was no tension. The only time this movie had any tension was at the end where you see the girl looking around at them when when the old lady stops the car to put some to bandage up her leg, and you see her looking around and you're thinking the killer's gonna pop up. And that's the only time I felt like there was even a slightest tension in this movie. Like the problem is with this idea of seeing from the killer's perspective is that when you see to me when I feel like I'm seeing the killer coming, there's just no tension in the movie. And the characters just make idiot decisions a lot of times in this movie. So overall, this is just a movie that did not work for me. This is like to me the most boring movie I saw in theaters this year. Like I can understand this movie being a cool experiment. I can understand some people maybe loving it because of that experimental idea element of it. But like outside of that, it does nothing new. I thought the ending was pretty bad. The characters make stupid decisions. Dialogue is cringy. The acting is not really all that great. The characters I don't care about. They don't sound to me. There's a lot of times where they just don't sound realistic. Like they don't sound like real people. And it does really nothing new outside of the killer's perspective idea. And they even break that idea like a couple times in the movies. They don't really follow completely through with that idea. And this movie's just too long. And even after hour 37 minutes is too long. So that's my thoughts in About Nation. Until next time, movie fans.